Right. Uh, yes, Yusuf, we discussed last time the learning outcome 1 and learning outcome 2 of software engineering. Yeah.
Yeah.
And today we will discuss the learning outcome 3 of software engineering. Be able to apply a software engineering approach to software and system development. And indicative content is project management for software development, project planning, business process reengineering, data modeling, object-oriented analysis and design, behavioral models, data verification, and data validation. So let us have a look on the slides. Okay. So we will be following the indicative contents like project management for software development. A project is a well-defined task which is a collection of several operations done in order to achieve a goal. For example, software development and delivery. So if you have a goal of a software development and it has to be delivered, then it has to be carried out through defined tasks, well-defined tasks, and a collection of several operations. So a project is a combination of tasks and which have to be achieved according to certain time and delivery as well as the development. A project can be characterized as every project may have a unique and distinct goal. Project is not routine activity or day-to-day operations, but it is a targeted uh, uh, task which you have to complete from a particular starting to an end. Project comes with a start time and end time, obviously. Project ends when its goal is achieved, hence it is a temporary phase in the lifetime of an organization. So whenever an organization wanted a project to be done, then it is a kind of a temporary phase. It has to be developed within a temporary time. Project needs adequate resources in terms of time, manpower, finance, material, and knowledge. So if you want to have a project, then you should have a timeline, manpower, finance, material, and knowledge. That's a kind of general definition of a project. A software project is the complete procedure of software development from requirement gathering to testing and maintenance. So when you talk about a software project, it means a complete procedure from the development, and the development starts from gathering the requirement from the customers to implementation and testing and maintenance carried out according to the execution methodology. So obviously the procedure of the development should have been carried out according to certain methods and strategies in order to develop a software in a specified period of time to achieve intended product software product. So obviously again the software project has to be developed in a particular time frame in order to produce a good software product. If you have a time frame, then it means software has been developed according to certain plan. Project management for software development. Software project management is the art and science of planning and leading software projects. So whenever you want to develop a software, then it has to go through the art and science of project management using planning, and which will lead to a software project. It is a sub-discipline of project management. So software development is the part of project management in which software projects are planned, implemented, monitored, and controlled. The software development process. A software development process is concerned primarily with the production of aspects of software development. So whenever you are concerned with the software development, it means it is concerned with the aspects of and the process of the software development as opposed to the technical aspects such as software tools. So basically the software development process is not concerned about the software tools that you will use, but the process is more concerned about the software development in the form of product, the output, the final how the output will look like. The users will not look at the tools being used to develop the software, but you have to provide a software that how it would look like. These processes exist primarily for supporting the management of the software development and are generally skewed towards addressing business concerns. So the software development has to address the business concerns, not the how it is developed. Many software development processes can be run in a similar way to general project management processes. So the process involves the different general project management techniques, and you have to go through your software development process by using the project management. Now, the project planning, monitoring, and control. So the purpose of project planning is to identify the scope of the project, estimate the work involved, and create a project schedule. So when you talk about the project planning, you have to create a schedule and the estimated work involved and the boundary of the project, that what is included and what is not included in the project. Project planning begins with the requirements that define the software to be developed. So in order to start with a project, you should have requirements in advance so that you can plan, you can scope, you can estimate the work to be done and the estimation of the time. The project plan is then developed to describe the tasks that will lead to the completion. So the plan has to describe what tasks have to be completed and in which order and in which timing that needs to be gone through. The purpose of project monitoring and control is to keep the team and management up to date on the project's progress. So when your project is being developed, it is necessary to monitor the management team and the management progress and the project progress, that how it is going. If the project deviates from plan, then project manager can take action to correct the problem. So it is the advantage of the project monitoring. If the plan is not being followed very well, then the project management can take action accordingly in order to let the project development go in the right direction. The project monitoring and control involves status meeting to gather status of the team. When changes need to be made, change control is used to keep the product up to date. So even the monitoring and control allows to accept the changes required at the time of the development. Yeah. Okay, so need of the software project management. Software is said to be an intangible, non-physical product. So basically the product is not a physical thing. It's a kind of program which you cannot touch. Most software products are tailor-made to fit the client's requirements. The most important is that the underlying technology changes and advances so frequently and rapidly that experience of one product may not be applied to the other one. So obviously the management is important. All such business and environmental constraints bring risk in software development. Hence, it is essential to manage a software projects efficiently. So, the project needs to be maintained and managed. The software development should have been carried out in a managed way because there are changes being expected, and one experience of the development could be different from the other experience of the development which the developers might have. Few responsibilities of a project manager includes the managing people. The managing people includes the act as a project leader, liaison with stakeholders, managing human resources, setting up reporting, hierarchy, etc. So when you talk about the people, then the role of the leader, the project manager has to be taken, and in communicate, listen, and be in communication with the stakeholders, manage human resources, setting up reporting hierarchy, whatever has to be reported, communicated, it should be done in sequentially. Managing project itself, the responsibility of the project manager is to manage a project. How to manage? Defining and setting a project scope, manage a project management activities, monitoring progress and performance, risk analysis at every phase, take necessary steps to avoid or come out of problems, act as a project spokesperson. So it is the responsibility of the project manager to manage people as well as manage project. Furthermore, the new topic is project planning. The purpose of software development plan or project planning is to gather all information necessary to control the project. So if the project has to be developed, then the project development can be controlled. Its development can be controlled by gathering all necessary information, which describes the approach to the development of the software and is the top level plan generated and used by managers to direct the development efforts. So whatever the development effort has to be carried out should be informed by the managers from the top level plan to the bottom. It is the part of project planning. Before starting a project, a software project, it is essential to determine the tasks to be performed and properly manage allocation of tasks among individuals involved in the software development. Hence, planning is important as it results in effective software development. Project planning is an organized and integrated management process which focuses on activities required for successful completion of a project. It prevents obstacles that arise in the project, such as changes in projects or organization's objectives, non-availability of resources, and so on. So, if you have a project planning, then you can solve any obstacles which hinder you in the development of the project, possibly any interaction with the organization's objectives, any changes, or whatever the resources are available. So the planning will help you to solve any of the related expected problems which arise in future, which can arise in the future, but your plan should have the expectations of those problems which could be occurred. Project planning also helps in better utilization of resources and optimal usage of the allotted time for a project. The other objectives of the project planning are listed below. It defines the roles and responsibilities of project management team members. It ensures that project management team works according to the business objectives. It checks feasibility of the schedule and user requirements. It determines project constraints. So planning is important. It has certain features. Several individuals help in planning the project. These include senior management and project management team can really help you in order to plan a project. Senior management is responsible for employing team members and providing resources required for the project, while project management team, which generally includes project managers and developers, is responsible for planning, determining, and tracking the activities of the project. Is it going well?
Sorry?
I mean, are the theories, good? You have any questions or confusions while I'm delivering?
Yeah.
I mean, it's fine, yeah?
Yeah, it's fine, totally.
Yeah, I have basically tried to include more theoretical grounds so that, you can get more and more info instead of reading any other stuff. So this software engineering is a little bit theoretical. So the more the theory you will have more, learning about the subject. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So project planning should be effective so that the project begins with a well-defined task. Effective project planning helps to minimize the additional costs incurred in the progress. For effective project planning, some principles are followed. The principles are: the planning is necessary, risk analysis should be done, tracking of project plan, meet quality standards, and produce quality deliverables. So the planning should be done before the project begins. For effective planning, objectives and schedule should be clear and understandable. The risk analysis: before starting the project, senior management and the project management team should consider the risks that may affect the project. Tracking of project plan: once the project plan is prepared, it should be tracked and modified accordingly. Meet quality standards and produce quality deliverables. The project plan should identify processes by which the project management team can ensure quality in the software. Based on the process selected for ensuring quality and the time and the cost for the project estimated. So the principles of a good project plan is: planning is necessary, risk analysis, tracking of the project plan, and quality standards. Now, business process reengineering. The business process reengineering involves the changes in the structures and in processes within the business environment. The entire technological, human, and organizational dimensions may be changed in the business process reengineering. So, when you expect any change in the structures during the software development is considered as the business process engineering. In general, any technological changes in the structure in the business environment is called the business process engineering. We will talk regarding the software in the next slides. Like information plays a major role in business process reengineering, as it provides office automation. It allows the business to be conducted in different locations, provides flexibility in manufacturing, permits quicker delivery to customers, and supports rapid and paperless transactions. In general, it allows an efficient and effective change in the manner in which work is performed. Business process reengineering aims to help organizations fundamentally rethink how they can do their work in order to dramatically improve customer services, cut operational costs, and become world-class competitors. So business process re-engineering is basically the involvement of any changes in the structures and in the process within the business environment. Regarding the information technology has a very major role in the business process reengineering, because office automation, any changes or any of the bigger changes will be facilitated and will be able to happen with the help of information technology. Hence, the reengineering is basically the changes in the structures in the business environment. Reengineering is the fundamental rethinking and radical redesign of business process to achieve dramatic improvements in critical contemporary measures of performance such as cost, quality, service, and speed. Process is a structured, measured set of activities designed to produce a specified output for a particular customer or market. It implies a strong emphasis on how work is done within an organization. Each process is composed of related steps or activities that use people, information, and other resources to create a value for customer. So, the business environment is expecting the reengineering in the process. The business processes are characterized by three elements. When you talk about a business process, you expect basically the inputs, the process of data or materials, and the output or outcome. The inputs are basically the data such as customer inquiries or materials. The process of data or materials is basically which is usually go through several stages and may necessarily stop, that turns out to be time and money consuming. So data or material is basically the process. The process itself is being operated on the data, and the outcome is the delivery of the expected result. So business process has three elements: the inputs and the process on the data itself, and the outcome of the expected results. The business process reengineering mainly intervenes in the processing part, which is re-engineered in order to become less time and money consuming. So the business process has three units, and re-engineering involves any changes being expected are re-engineered in the whole process. Again, the business process re-engineering is also known as the business process redesign, business transformation, or business process change management. Is that hello?
Hello.
Is it clear? Somehow, these are the very theoretical, concepts. We have to rely on, just the fingertips that, okay, the process involves the input, the processing of the data on the material, and the outcome, and the business re-engineering. The business process re-engineering is basically the redesign of any of the changes. Yeah?
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah. So, for that, just the topic wise, we have to look at the definitions, and wherever necessary, the more and more depth could be studied, but not, we don't need to go into the detail at this stage. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Now the data modeling. Software engineering is the process of creating a data model for an information system by applying certain formal techniques. So you remember that data modeling is kind of representing the data using certain diagrams and artifacts. Data modeling is a process used to define and analyze data requirements needed to support the business process within the scope of corresponding information systems in organizations. The process of data modeling involves professional data modelers working closely with business stakeholders as well as potential users of the information system. There are three different types of data models produced while progressing from requirements to the actual database to be used for information system. So normally the data modeling is basically the modeling of the data and the database used in the information system. You can expect the conceptual data model, logical data model, and the physical data model. The conceptual data model, the data requirements are initially recorded as a conceptual data model, which is essentially a set of technology independent specifications. So when you talk about the requirements, you do not talk about the any technology. You are irrespective of the technology. The requirements are specified about the data and is used to discuss initial requirements with business stakeholders. Logical data model is the concept when the conceptual data model is then translated into logical data model, which documents structures of the data that can be implemented into the database. The implementation of one conceptual data model may require multiple logical data models. So the conceptual data model is irrespective of the any technology. The logical data model is translated into the model which gives the structure. Still, it is independent of the technology, but it has some relevant structure which can easily fit into the technology. While the physical data model, the last step in data modeling, is transforming the logical data model to a physical data model that organizes the data into tables, accounts for access, performance, and storage details. So, logical data model is the logical mapping of the data so that it can be fitted into the physical existence of the data storage. Data modeling defines not just the data elements but also their structures and relationships between them. The data modeling techniques and methodologies are used to model the data in a standard, consistent, predictable manner in order to manage it as a resource. So, the data is a resource that needs to be managed. The use of data modeling standards is strongly recommended for all projects requiring a standard means of defining and analyzing data within an organization. Therefore, use of the data modeling assists business analysts, programmers, testers, manual writers, IT package selectors, engineers, managers, related organizations, and clients to understand and use an agreed semi-formal model, the concepts of organization, and how they relate to one another. It also helps to manage data as a resource. It helps for integration of information systems, helps for designing databases, data warehouses, also called as data repositories. The data modeling may be performed during various types of projects and in multiple phases of projects. Data models are progressive. There is no such thing as a final data model for a business or application. So when you talk about data modeling, then you cannot be 100% sure that the particular model is always final, but it has to be changed, and it always changes because it is tangible. Instead, a data model should be considered a living document that will change in response to the changing business. So it's a living document, it always changes. The data models should ideally be stored in a repository so that they can be retrieved, expanded, and edited over the time. Now, the next topic is object-oriented analysis and design. We are concerned here about the analysis and design, but it is the analysis and design done in object-oriented way. The object-oriented analysis and design is a popular technical approach for analyzing and designing an application. It means when you want to analyze or design, you need to take an approach of object orientation. So systems are business by applying the object-oriented paradigm. The object-oriented paradigm is a paradigm which allows you to represent every concept, the requirements into an object, as well as using visual modeling through the development life cycle to foster better stakeholder communication and product quality. So even the consideration of the requirements into objects as well as the modeling itself should have been done during the life cycles into objects so that the stakeholders can communicate and understand the product. Now, the object-oriented analysis and design in modern software engineering is best conducted in an iterative and incremental way. So the iterative and incremental way are the software development methodologies, and object-oriented analysis is best suited for those methodologies. The iteration by iteration concept, the output of object-oriented analysis and design activities, analysis models for object-oriented analysis, and designs for object-oriented design respectively, will be refined and evolve continuously, driven by key factors like risk and business value. So you basically keep on following iterations by iterations in order to look at the analysis and go ahead for the design, look at the analysis and go for the design, and keep on reducing the risk and provide a business value. The main difference between the object analysis and other forms of analysis is that by the object-oriented approach, we organize requirements around objects. As I explained, that everything needs to be considered as an objective. For example, if there are certain requirements, then the nouns should be considered as an object. Like for example, the school is an object, the student is an object, and certain other the verbs would be the something else, while the objects would be considered as the nouns, and the verbs will be the functions, and attributes will be the names, and the properties will be the properties of the object. So once we will discuss the object orientation, then you will understand more. But consider that every of the requirements should have been represented into the object, and object is basically can be considered as a noun which integrate both behavior and the data. So one object will have a data like attributes and will have a behaviors like processes in the form of functions modeled after real world objects that the system interacts with. So when you say that a student is an object, a student enrolls, it means it has a behavior of enrollment, and state and the data of the student may be the roll number or the seat number. So the object is consist of the behaviors and the data, and it is an entity within the requirements that you represent. In other traditional analysis methodologies, two aspects like processes and data, they are considered separately. So if you are talking about the non-object orientation, then you do not include the relevant behavior and data of an object within an entity, but you describe the processes and data separately into a sequence. You do not give an entity the processes and data relevant with one particular object, for example a noun, any student or anything, but in the object orientation, you explicitly define the objects, and in the non-object orientation with the traditional analysis, you automatically by default do not basically do not separate these entities, and you mix up all these processes and data. Now, the primary tasks in object-oriented analysis are find the objects. For example, find the nouns in a requirement. That whatever will be the nouns. Nouns may be the student, the teacher, the principal, the director. Then organize those objects. Describe how objects interact. The interaction between the objects you have to describe in the object-oriented analysis. Define the behavior of the objects, that what actions the object can take. Define the internals of the objects, whatever may be the attributes. Common models used in object-oriented analysis are use case. Use case describe the scenarios for standard domain functions that the system must accomplish. And object models. The object models describe the names, the class relationships. For example, circle is a subclass of the shape, operations, and properties of the main objectives. The other example, as I told you, that object is the noun, and use cases are basically the verbs or the functions in the terms of object-oriented analysis. And when you represent those objects, probably you talk about the models. The models are basically the class diagrams. You normally represent the objects or nouns into the classes, and you define the association between the classes. It means you define the association between the objects. So that kind of association using the classes and objects and the operations defined into use cases is basically the representing your analysis into object-oriented paradigm. Is that clear? Basically, the everything representing into the classes. And do you remember the
Java.
UML? Yeah, Java as well. Yeah, the Java is the exact answer to this. Yeah, everything is in the class, and class has the attributes as well as methods of functions, and functions are the behaviors, the data or the variables are the attributes. So normally you define those, into everything is in the class. So object orientation, the Java is one kind of the example of the object orientation. That's a programming language. In the similar way, you can analyze any project and design any project in the object oriented way. So the object oriented way will be the class diagrams, the class association diagrams. The use cases will be the verbs, and normally there would be functions. Yeah. Now design. During the object-oriented design, a developer applies implementation constraints to the conceptual model produced in object-oriented analysis. So basically, once you analyze the any requirement, then in the design you try to apply the implementation constraints, that how you would implement by using particular technology and according to the structural design of the implementing technology. While in the analysis you only try to represent the abstract representation of the information or the requirements. So such constraints could include the hardware and software platforms, the performance requirements, persistent storage and transaction, usability of the system, limitations imposed by the budgets and time, concepts in analysis model, which is technology independent, are mapped onto implementing classes and interfaces. So in design, you basically try to give the constraints and structure to the analysis according to the implementing technology. Now, behavioral models is the next. A behavioral model shows the interaction between objects to produce some particular system behavior that is specified as a use case. Sequence diagrams or collaboration diagrams in a UML are used to model interaction between objects. So when you talk about the behavioral models, you basically create the sequence diagrams using UML that gives you the interaction between the objects. The behavioral models are used to describe the overall behavior of the behavioral models. Two types of behavioral models are data processing models and state machine models that are more specifically explained into the UML, into the sequence diagrams and collaboration diagrams. You define basically the sequence and states of those objects. Now, the data are software verification and validation. In software project management, software testing, and software engineering, the verification and validation is the process of checking that the software system meets the specifications and that it fulfills its intended purpose. It may also be referred to as the software quality. So when you talk about the verification and validation, then you are going to check the quality. You verify and validate. It is normally the responsibility of the software testers as a part of the software development team. In simple terms, software verification is assuming we should build a software A. Does our software achieves its goals without any bugs or gaps? So when you are trying to verify, it means you try to check the implementation against its requirements. On the other hand, software validation is what should have built. Does A meet the high level requirements? So when you are basically checking that is the software has been implemented according to the requirements, it is verification. Yeah. And when you come out of the development and look at that whether the developed software is meeting the actual goals or not, it means you are validating. So initially you need to verify first whether the software has been implemented according to its instructions, and then you validate whether the software is useful or not. So the validation is, are we building the right product? It means we have to validate whether the software design is useful and can fulfill the objectives. And the verifications is basically, are we building the product right? It means right, it means is the project development team building and implementing the actual and correct requirements or not. Validation is the process of evaluating a software at the end of the development process to determine whether the software meets the customer expectations and requirements. The objective of verification is to make sure that the product being developed is as per the requirements and design specifications. Between the verification and validation,
No issues. Makes sense the way you presented them. The difference between validation and verification.
I mean, the verification is that you verify the development team has implemented as they have been told. Yeah. And
Yeah.
validation is that overall, is the software being developed is useful for the purpose or not? Yeah.
Yeah.
Because when you develop any software or anything, then in the evaluation, you not only verify your software being developed, but you also validate that whether it is useful or not. Usefulness, obviously, that the purpose of the software is to develop for someone, but maybe if it is a research oriented software, then you have to verify as well as validate. Yeah.
Yeah.
So verification, we already explained in generally that you have to check the requirements have been specified and implemented accordingly, and in the validation you have to check whether the main purpose of the software is being achieved or not. So there are two types of the validation. One is the internal and the other is the external. So we have to validate. It means we have to know whether the software is being useful. It has to be carried out in internal as well as external. When it is the internal software validation, it is assumed that the goal of the stakeholder were correctly understood and that they were expressed in the requirement artifacts precise and comprehensively. If the software meets the requirements specification, it has been internally validated. So internally validation is basically, it is an assumption that it has passed through the the verification, the requirements have been met. The external validation is basically the successful final external validation occurs when all the stakeholders accept the software product and express that it satisfies their needs. Such final external validation requires the use of acceptance test, which is a dynamic test. So this is a kind of theoretical terms. Maybe they could be elaborated more in detail, but now we don't need to go in too much in detail. So simply the validation may be carried out as an internal and external. However, you should be very much clear about the verification and validation in general. That's it. So the learning outcomes have been discussed. Do you have any questions regarding anything?
No questions.
Okay, that's fine. So I end up this session, and after the break, we will start the next session with a new unit. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. I see you around in 5-10 minutes. Yeah.
All right. See you tomorrow.
Okay. See you. Bye. Bye.